play-by-play with the Frozen Four, NHL playoffs. So it's great to have you here, buddy. I'm glad you're here.
Love the Valley.
Thank you. Yep. And then next
And there's
is Howard
random
Carnell.
nobody guy.
Next is Howard Carnell, and not true. Former sports writer at the Washington Observer Reporter, former sports writer at the Wheeling Intelligencer, currently helping to manage West Banco, and is one of my co-hosts part-time on WKKX on Saturday mornings, 98.1 and 1600 Hub. So it's great to have Howard Carnell here. So we are mostly going to be black and gold sports, Steelers, Pirates, Penguins, a little bit of national sports mixed in. And we have a great show today. And today is one of those days where everything just kind of came together that we would do this on 9/11. Butchie was in town. Phil was available. We wanted to launch this podcast, and Phil and I have been talking about this for quite a while. And we can't do this without paying homage to 9/11. It's just an important day in our country's history that almost 3,000 Americans perished, and we have to salute that. And I don't want to really focus on that, though. I really 12 and what happened after that, and how that seemed to galvanize the United States and give us a sense of patriotism that we had not seen in a long time. And I believe that we're all relatively the same age. So the last time we'd seen that in our lifetime was the 1980 U.S. Olympic Hockey Team. And what a great time that was. To me, it's the biggest moment in sports history. But a group of mostly college players took on the world at the Lake Placid Olympics and ran the table, won the gold medal, including the defeat in the semifinal game of the mighty Russian Army hockey team that was considered the greatest in the world at that time. So we want to talk a little bit about that today. Dan, do we have the captain of the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team, Michael Ruzioni? Do we have Mike with us? Mike,
Hi guys, how you doing?
Good to hear you. We need to put the headsets on. Okay.
Bucci.
Thanks for being here with us, Mike. We really appreciate it, buddy. There he is.
No problem, guys. Thank you, Bucci and Borky. Nice to see you guys.
How about me and
Howard? Haven't seen Phil in a while, but I saw Bucci not long ago.
Good. Well, it's always great to be with you here, and I think we were talking about 9/11 and significance of everything, and Phil shared a story with me, Mike, that I didn't know 9/11 had a personal touch with you. Phil, you want to ask what happened?
Hey Mike, how you doing, man? Great to hear you, see you. I just maybe will lead it off here. That I remember, shortly after the crashes in New York, that we found out who were on these planes, and not only the great Ace Bailey, who was a longtime Boston Bruins Stanley Cup champion, but you being from Boston University, Mark Davis, who was also on that plane with Ace Bailey. After his college career as a BU Terrier, he went on as a scout with the LA Kings. They were in Manchester, New Hampshire, which was the AHL affiliate to the LA Kings, and then on their way out to training camp to LA, Ace and Mark. So my question is, what do you remember about that day, first of all, Mike, and then also your relationship with Mark Davis, being a former Terrier?
Well, it's very interesting. Nobody probably knows this story, but on 9/11, I was supposed to go to San Francisco, and that morning at 8 o'clock flight to go to and speak at a sales meeting. A day before, or 2 days before, Jack O'Callahan called me. He said, the Chicago Blackhawks have an alumni golf outing. Would you like to play? And I said, Jack, when is it? And he gave me the date. And I said, geez, I got to be in San Francisco on the 11th. I can come in on the 10th and play, and then I'll go out to L.A. Or to San Fran the next day. So I was with Jack O'Callahan at his house that morning when he woke me up and said, hey, Mike, you're not going to believe what just happened. And then later found that Mark and Ace, and I knew Ace very well, through the Boston Bruins organization and, charity events and golf outings. So it was a very sad day. And, Bevo was, very much a part of Boston University, him and his brother coached there, his brother played there. And even 40, years later, when this date comes along, it still kind of stings, remembering those two great men and and how sad it was and how they lost their lives. And not to make this a political thing, but then you see what happens last night to Charlie Kirk. It makes you just wonder, where we're headed and what we're doing. And I tweeted this out the other day. I don't know if you guys know this, but our team is going to receive the Congressional Gold Medal, and they just announced it yesterday. And when we saw this incident last night, I kept thinking about in 1980 we were looking for something to feel good about as a country. And along comes a group of hockey players that just touched the lives of so many people in such a positive way. We were looking for something to feel good about in 1979 and 1980, and along we come. And now you see such a tragedy last night, and you just reflect back on, um, how sporting events and tragic events sometimes, coexist in some ways. But we brought joy to a nation not knowing it, and it's something I think my teammates and I, 45 years later, cherish and honor. And receiving this award is to us as a team. It's not an athletic achievement. It's not an SB. It's not one of those awards. It's from your country. And I think 9/11 kind of was very much a part of our country, and such a tragic event, and yet our event was such a positive moment. And I've said this, and I'll get off my soapbox after this, but I've always said, other than being a firefighter, a police officer, or somebody serving the military, there's no greater feeling than putting on a USA jersey. You're not playing for Pittsburgh or Boston or Chicago. You're playing for your country. And I think in 1980, we showed what a moment like that can be to a nation and lifting a nation at a very difficult time. So it's kind of been a bittersweet day or two for me yesterday with Charlie, and today thinking about Bevo and Ace and that tragedy that took place.
Yeah, John, you had a story you were just sharing a little bit about where you were on that day. Tell us about where you were when you got the news about 9/11.
I was just playing in a U.S. Mid Amateur qualifier. It was a beautiful day like it is today here on the 24th anniversary here in the Ohio Valley. It's just a gorgeous day. This is really pretty much the exact same weather for 8 years before, back in 2001. Yeah, just playing in this little golf tournament qualifier, and just slowly as my tee time was right around the first plane hit, and you could start to hear people talking about it. You didn't quite have smartphones yet then, and news didn't travel quite as fast as it does now. But you could see, slowly the next hour or so, players just walking off the course because their firms were in the tower. They just lost everything. All the people who worked for them, and workmates, and they happened to be there that day, in this golf tournament. Otherwise, they probably would have been at work. So it was just an eerie day, and then eventually all got called off. We went inside the TV and the first shop, and us and that drive from an hour and a half ride. It was very young, 72 something. So you just can't wait to get home to see them. It's just such a time, like Mike said, and just the days after, how we said came together as a country, and Mike has talked about it a lot. And now again, what happened yesterday? It seems like it's another a different kind of mode. This is obviously just awful. I wonder how we use this. It was easy. The hockey victory is easy, right? Getting attacked as a country is easy. Like how do we deal with this? That's going to be the question going forward.
And what was the direction that you had from ESPN about talking about, the tragedy, and what was the move?
Yeah, obviously, your sports, cliches that you use, you try to be a little sensitive, but sometimes we go overboard. Some of the verbs you might use to describe a football player or something like that in that situation. You have to be a little bit sensitive and try to take a couple words ahead or something that might just be a little, not intentional.
Sure.
So more it's about the language, the tone. And that's never been a problem for me. Just lower your voice and just talk about things. But yeah, a little bit of the language, but overall, it was these things were taken to the Ryder Cup was canceled. It's reporting on what's happening next.
Yeah.
When's the NFL going to play? When's baseball going to play? They're not just and so they had to worry about that again today. Ryder Cup was canceled, so it's just a lot like COVID. Just wait. before the news dropped.
But Mike, won't you agree, and you guys here at the panel here, that that next day, and you kind of stirred my memory a little bit, Mike, when you brought up 9/12, 9/13, 9/14 days following that, we all got nicer over the years, right?
Right.
Just driving
That's
around
right.
in your car, people were like, yeah, go ahead, go ahead. And I'm sure, Mike, you experienced that too after winning in 1980, that it's kind of a gentle reminder of like, what the hell are we doing, man? Day in and day out. We're so caught up in our lives that it takes, whether it's a 1980 Olympic team win or us galvanized as a country after such a tragic event, that maybe we should be like that a little more often, right?
Phil, I have people come up to me depending on how old they are. They'll come up and say, I remember where I was when we won. And I always go, I didn't know you were on the team. But that's what that moment was in 1980. And like I said earlier, we didn't know, we were just playing. I've had people come up to me and just start crying, tears in their eyes, telling me that that moment was so special to them and what it meant to them. So we don't have many sporting events. And, when the Celtics win or the Bruins win, everybody's excited in Boston. And other cities don't care because their team's not in it. But as I said at the beginning, when it's the Olympic Games, it's a totally different mindset, a totally different feeling for people across this country. And, and again, in 1979 and 1980, we were looking for something with the Soviets and the hostages and gas and inflation and everything that was going on. We come along and just showed what makes this country so great is that moments can happen like that to rally and bring people together. And that's why I said the other day we could use the 1980 now. Not for us, it's over, it's ended. But we need a story. We need to be positive about things when things are not going right, not going in the direction that we would like them to go in. But our team, without knowing it, it was pretty special. And I think that's what we take great pride in. Not so much winning the gold medal, but what it meant to so many people for so many different reasons.
Phil, you'd mentioned the name Mark Davis. I worked for the Wheeling Nailers in 2018 and 2019, and the head coach of that team was Mike Davis. I believe Mark's twin brother.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to attend a leadership conference of which he presented, and he talked about that. And to still see 18 years later, at that time, the open wound that was still there, but you move on. So you put one foot in front of the other. Never forget what people were affected by it. Live your life in their memory, but you got to move on and keep going. And I thought he did a great job. It really caught my attention that just all those years later, how fresh still that wound was, that open wound. But again, live from it, remember the people, and move forward. And then you were talking about the days after. I remember the days after in one word: baseball. The other sports came back, everybody came back, but what did it for me was the first Mets game in New York City and then the first Yankees game in New York City. Didn't care who won, had nothing invested in any of the teams. But baseball, often looked at as the true sports fiber of America, and the history and everything that goes into it, it's woven into our souls as much as our fandom. I thought baseball was the key thing in those weeks that followed that brought us all back together.
I go back to, at Boston University, we have the Mark Davis Suite. We raised money years and years ago when they built the Giannis Arena, and it's a former players suite named in memory of Mark. And obviously I work at Boston University, so I go to all of our games, and I go into that suite, and you can't help but remember Mark as a person and as a player. So, Boston University, I thought, did an incredible tribute to Mark by having that suite named after him that we sit in every time we've got a home game.
That's great. And Howard, you mentioned, how that brings people together, how sport was able to do that after 9/11 and with the Olympics. Mike, what do you think it is about sports that just creates the magnitude of those feelings where people identify what happens in their lives because of a sporting event?
Well, I mean, to me, it's not political. It's boys, girls, men, women going out there competing, having fun, playing a game, and I think people relate to that because you know, it's fun. It's enjoyable. It's relaxing if you want to go watch. Um, the skill level and the talent of these athletes, whatever sport you're watching, is incredible. And it's an escape. It's an escape from maybe some of the grind that they deal with every day, whether, you know, it's their work jobs or their family stress or whatever. It's a relief. And I think that's what makes sports so great. It's just a way to get away from everything and all the BS that you might have to deal with, and go watch your team play and support them, and be a part of them and what they're trying to accomplish.
Mike, I'd like to ask you, the players that you have at BU now are of a generation after this happened, so they're not completely aware of it. How do you integrate that suite and the history that comes from it with your current players?
Well, you know, anytime we have a recruit on campus, we obviously bring him around the building. You know, bring him in the locker room, bring him in the weight room, go upstairs, tour the camp, you know, the arena, the pictures and the stuff on the wall. And you go into the Bavis suite and show them. Say, this is, you know, this was Mark Bavis. He played here, and kind of tell the story that way. But if you go down in the locker room, you know, there's pictures of Mark. So people know the story. They know what he meant to Boston University as a player. And like I said, years ago when Mike was coaching there, it was constant. It was a constant reminder. So, you know, it's part of our BU hockey history. Not only national championships and bean pots and things like that, but Mark Davis is very much a part of our history of our program, and we want our student athletes to know about him and what he was all about.
Coachy, 30 years in sports. What is it that makes sports so important to us? I mean, what is it that helps drive us and make this just a fabric?
Yeah, well, I think it comes from just, you know, especially early on, just competition, competitiveness. You know, back in the late 1800s, early 90s, were tough dudes, you know, and they had tough lives and they had tough jobs. And so to go play a ball for, obviously baseball was really the start probably of our, and then good, obviously as we made the country made money, they had more free time at these schools, which was games, right? They had more free time. You know, life wasn't get up and crack it on and work all day. You now had time to do things. So it was a way that people express themselves, the way they show their talents, the way they bonded with people. And so all those things that we talk about now, that's why it started. And then obviously, like anything, it grows, it refines. And so now it's become, you know, a giant industry. That actually sports is part of our culture. Sports is art. It's how you express yourself. It's an industry that produces jobs. It's how I pay my mortgage. It's how my kids are educated. Absolutely, sports are important. Not only, like I said, because of income and the job. So, again, a way to bond with people, a way to bring a city together, and that's those are the other things. But it's tangibly very important. And but it is now it's become a part of culture. It's like art, it's like music. The things that make life, right? Those are the important part. It's not, it's, you know, and that's what I really think sports has become. As music and art, theater, commercial is games and competition, but now it's become and a giant industry that employs people, gives people a great life, and there's all the other options. Charitable work that athletes do, it's a gigantic positive. When we talk about negatives a lot from sports, professional sport. Just think, we talked about, you know, Bobby Orr and Micah Ruzioni and his autograph, how much money Mike has raised just by signing his autograph with all his teammates. That picture, Bobby Orr's picture, sort of soaring through on the wall of 1970, how much money he's raised from signing Bobby Orr's picture. So that's what sports has done. About roughly 1900. So, it's still kind of young in terms of how fast it's grown and the option of what it's culture.
I think also like to tie it into 9/11. It's the earliest part of our youth that's taught us how to battle through adversity, right? As a group, and I'm really happy that nothing against golf or tennis and, you know, people who do that, it's an individual sport.
Right.
I love that I was a part of a team sport. And Mike, you could probably touch on this a little bit too with the Olympic team. You know, the trials and tribulations that you guys went through, and everything preceding the Olympics that taught you, and you learned that as a youth, right? Of like, don't run south, run north. And when there's a hurdle to go over, you put your head down and run into it. We're taught that as young kids, boys and girls, but also when we had adversity as a country, we took a lot of those lessons we learned from sports and we applied it to it.
Yeah, and I think, Phil, that to me, hockey players are different. You learn at a young age how important your teammates are. You learn at a young age how important friendship is. You learn at a young age about loyalty. Some sports sometimes are more a little individual sport. A pitcher might go out and throw a no-hitter, and he's happy, and his team wins, but a hitter might get 3 home runs, but they lose, so maybe he looks at it differently because I had 3 home runs. It sucked that we lost, but hey, I had a good day. I think hockey is something that's so different than anything else, and like I said, I think with respect to all the other sports, you talk to anybody who deals with hockey players, they're a different breed, and I think they understand the importance of teamwork and coming together, and I think that's a great attribute that hockey players bring to the table. And our team in 1980, 45 years later, we're a family. We're close. We've got a tremendous bond and respect for each other that's carried so many years later. And again, I think part of our success was the teamwork that we had, the aspect of believing in ourselves and believing in each other. I've always said we don't win in Lake Placid without Mark Johnson. Mark Johnson was our best hockey player. But how good would Mark be if everybody else wasn't doing what they needed to do in order to win? And I think that's what I appreciate so much about the sport of ice hockey. And like Phil, you touched on it. I think you learn that bond at a young age, how important teammates are.
That's great stuff.
Sports gives us a chance. I don't know any other time in my day in and day out.
Two national
That's too
anthems for
long.
Jeff
Yeah.
Jefferson, right?
Yeah, when you-
That'd be too.
Take the
I
under,
always take
right?
the over.
Take the under.
Take the under, right? At the
You
Super
know,
Bowl.
those are great thoughts.
Phil, I told my son, my youngest son, playing hockey, I said, look, you want to listen to music to get you pumped before a game? There's only one song I can assure you you're going to hear before every game, and it's that national anthem. So you better play it in the locker room, whether it's U12 or a high school game, and you better learn, for that's the song you get.
You know what? I bet you Mike can still remember calling all those guys up to the podium,
Yeah.
right? There's nothing like it. Like to celebrate, to see that red, white, and blue hanging, and to be the one team that gets their national anthem played. To this day, it's the greatest, one of the greatest moments in sports.
No doubt about it. Number one for sure. It's
I would agree.
yeah. I'm sure you did. But we are going to shift gears a little bit, and it's always great to talk about some of those more serious things. But we've got 3 guys with deep New England connections. And we've heard about the Celtics, we've heard about the Bruins, the Yankees, and Mets. None of you guys talking about the Red Sox. Mike, what's going on with the Red Sox?
Here we go.
Hey, come on, they're doing really well. I love watching this team. They're young, they're exciting. They're in the playoff hunt, which is great. So I think the city of Boston's excited. We got a huge series coming up. I think it starts today or tomorrow with the Yankees. And, even though it means a lot more now, the Red Sox-Yankee series is always an intense rivalry. But when they're fighting for first place or fighting for a wild card, it makes it that much more exciting. So, yeah, the Red Sox are they're for real. We're excited about that.
And you're very welcome from us sending you a Roldis Chapman. For absolutely
Yeah.
nothing. He's been a godsend for you guys.
Yes, he has. Although last night didn't work out that well, but he's been better than than we ever thought we were going to get.
He has been tremendous. You are a tremendous American hero, Mike. We appreciate you spending some time with us. Keep up all the great work that you're doing at Boston U. Thank you so much for everything that you always have done as an American and just being a source of inspiration for so many people. So we look forward to the next time that we can talk to you.
Well, hopefully it'll be in hopefully it'll be in February when the U.S. wins a gold medal in the Olympic Games. I had the pleasure of being at the Four Nations tournament, and I said to the U.S. players, I had a chance to speak to them. I said, "Will you do me a favor and win a gold medal so people will leave me alone?" So let's hope that can happen.
You still have to love that film, Mike. It's still got to be a great feeling, right? People will never forget. I'll never.
It's indescribable what it's like, even 45 years later. So it's a great story, and my teammates and I to this day are very proud that we were a part of something like that. So thanks for having me on the show, guys, and everybody stay safe. Take care.
Buddy.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care,
Bye.
Michael.
Yeah, Mike,
And
what a treasure, huh? He's
Yeah.
a treasure.
incredible.
One moment, one goal.
And he's lived his life. 45 years. But where do you go after that? You and I were talking the other day. Where do you go? Keep talking.
I'm talking about.
Well, the way to go is where the route he's taken, right? He hasn't squandered the opportunities, inspired so many people and so many generations over the years. He deserved it and took it seriously, took care of it. The cover of Sports Illustrated sits on my desk. I look at it every day of that celebration on the ice. Greatest thing, in the American flag hanging in the background. Wow.
Well, his balls get busted all the time. I mean, nobody's taken more with one goal than Micah Eruzione. But you're right. Like he is able to stand in front of a corporation and 100 CEOs and speak for 45 minutes so eloquently with so much energy and passion. It's from here, and that's what I've kind of learned now, 63 years of age. If you speak from here and you have a message to give from your heart, and it comes from your heart, people want to hear it. You might be talking about bubblegum. Who cares? But if it's from your heart, the way that Mike speaks, then you are always going to have an audience.
I put together a great program the first time. Since you were there, I was there, Frank Patrick, and Morrow, Mike, and I remember that night. It was just that sometimes, you function, done it. But at some point, like this cheers or now you're getting talking about a certain story. And my goal is to ask the right question. Maybe I can ask the question differently. So it sounds fresh. It still fresh. They really were. It was a great thing.
It was a blessing for sure. If you remember before I was going to take you down with the tech guy to go
Right.
so the goal the last
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, no, I'm not going down. And I said, go by yourself. Come on, go down there. No,
Yeah.
and you came up and you watched the highlights and you said, oh my God. Yeah. I was almost crying. I'm like, I don't want to cry.
Why is this affecting you? I've seen it a million times.
You know what's crazy? Who was doing color with Al Michaels?
Ken
Ken Dryden just passed away a few days ago. Yeah.
What a great moment. Sports history. Anyway, we're moving on with our program here, and we're so excited that Basil's Sports Bar and Grill was able to host us here. Now to talk a little bit about Basil's.
Yeah.
Come on up, Pete. You're the man who let this happen. Okay.
Now this is a sports bar. This is a sports bar.
Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
My dad was going to retire. I was trying to get first out.
Your dad was a police officer.
No, my dad was principal.
He was principal. You were the
Yes. We both had we had a restaurant back in the 90s. So I was going back to my family and he retired and I walked away and worked up this. It's been humble. From that task of participating. very good memory expansion. It's a long ride.
Well, you guys do a great job here. Like every time we ask our son, where do you want to go? Basil's, it's like a reflex of action. Never saw the old WKRP in Cincinnati. Dr. Johnny Cable was
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's what my son is like when they ask me where they want to be.
Reference lost on younger
Yeah.
listeners.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's gone. But I had to.
People are on their phone go, WKRP.
But tell us about something. Yeah. Sounds different.
Yeah.
That's great, great. The food is great. Every single time, very consistent. You also have a great atmosphere. Tell us a little bit about the screen.
Good man. Good man.
That's right. That sounds good.
Two guys with Boston
We'll
Bruins.
get you some stuff. I'll send the box out. I got plenty of stuff at the house.
Hard to find me ever into a Boston hangout.
Love it.
Yeah. And how did that evolve? Tell us a story about doing
I also had season tickets and places on those guys. But brought me to a Penguin game when I was 12. After the game, walked it out. Eventually, I got to
Bill Burke. And if you talk to anybody I went to high school with, my nickname was Berkey, not Borky. Then in 1979, the Bruins drafted Raymond Bourque out of Quebec, first round, right? He comes in town, same last name, and all of a sudden people started calling me Bourque. And I was like, no, I kept correcting them, Burke. I got tired of correcting them. All of a sudden, I became Phil Bourque. My brothers, by the way, I'm the oldest of three boys. My youngest brother's name is Raymond Bourque.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he went from a Burke to a Bourque. But not only that, everybody with the last name Burke at the time all of a sudden became, to this day, they're all Bourques.
Wow.
So one guy rolled into town, changed the pronunciation
That's unbelievable.
of our last name
That's a great story.
throughout the whole family.
That's a great
That's
story.
awesome.
Real cool. Yeah, there's plenty of hockey memorabilia on all different sports here. Tell us about what are your hours? You're open a little bit later. So people want to come and have beer, watch games.
high school football, coaches, fans, local games. Our role model is real good. We'll keep the kitchen.
Nice.
Bar, but yeah, so normally
It gets better. It really does.
No, it gets worse.
Yeah.
so, yeah, the hours aren't bad. But we're usually out in the kitchen.
So people can come after the game.
College football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Within 10 minutes, you could be in 3 states, right? Right here, you're 5 minutes across.
Yeah, right off the area.
Yeah.
5 minutes to the area.
So you get some crowds in Pennsylvania communities. That's good.
It's a great place. This place has been
Yeah.
really
It's nice for located. Location's great.
Yeah.
Easy to find. So, but we really appreciate having you here. Thank you so much. Look forward to hopefully doing this again. And, have a great one.
Let's go Basil's.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Stop by.
Yeah. Basil McCray.
Tremendous food all the time.
Gotta get a Basil McCray autograph jersey.
Yeah, beautiful.
Tough guy.
Like, he played for the Bruins?
North Stars, right?
Yeah.
North Stars back in the day.
Did you ever fight him?
He punched me in the face. Sucker punched me in the face in the playoffs.
But
There you go.
did
In
you draw a
91.
penalty?
No, I said, please, may I have another? Because we're up, I think, 6-0 at the time
Oh,
in
no,
game
that's the last
6.
with
Yeah,
the
game 6
Stanley Cup.
Nice.
in '91 final.
Well, what
Yeah.
a great time. I mean, I still talk about memories. I still remember who I was with,
Yeah,
where we were at for that, and I'm sure you still think about this
all the time, all the time. The greatest time of my life.
And
man.
we're
Yeah.
glad you're here in Pittsburgh and looking at all the sports. We're still going to talk about mostly Steelers, Pirates, and Penguins. We're going to roll into the little Steelers discussion. And what you wanted to ask you from a national standpoint, we have these high expectations of the Steelers. We're the Steelers, that's what we do. We come in, people come here and kick their asses on the turnpike. That's what Joey Porter does. What I'd like to know from you is, do the Steelers still have that roster? Is still part of the marketing franchise nationally?
I mean, certainly as a brand, for sure. I mean, there's not a strong, there's comparable ones with the Steelers. But in terms of on the field, no, they've definitely taken a hit the last few years. They're not the big bad bully anymore. Their playoff record is not big this decade. So there just has, certainly you look at the Bills and Kelly, and you look at Lamar Jackson in Baltimore as a step above in the AFC, and of course the Chiefs, obviously. Now here comes San Diego. Maybe Justin Herbert's going to pop out, and they have a good 5 to 7 year window. So it's obviously it's a 40-year-old quarterback. It's a little bit of an older team. They kind of threw a lot of stuff against the wall this year in the offseason, but sometimes it sticks. It works sometimes.
Yep.
It's probably the only play they had if they want to compete. But there were parts of that Jet game that looked good because Rodgers looked good. Your quarterback has to be good. And overall, I think the brand is obviously very strong, massive popularity. They must be very profitable with all the stuff they sell with the team around the country, jerseys and the like. But certainly on the field, it's taken a slight little hit.
We need a player.
Yeah, get to a championship game, and we're not used to going this long enough going to Super Bowl.
And wouldn't you say in that breath, when you talk about perception in the country of the Steelers, I think you have to mention Mike Tomlin, because from what I'm hearing, the perception of Mike Tomlin is a lot different from the national guys than the local guys. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. No, he's looked at as one of the best coaches in the league, but the record just hasn't reflected. Let's be frank, And so, but again, he's very well respected. Players seem to like him. He's good with the national media. I don't know how he's good with the local media. He talks to them like as much as he does the national media, because I'm sure he's going to have a TV job whenever he wants it. He'd be great at it. He'd think on his feet. Good vocabulary, and he's very quick.
Wordsmith, yeah.
Yeah, so he'll be good on TV. So we'll see. But so I'm curious. I'm curious to see how it's going to. I'm curious about the ownership going in the future. And I think the Steelers could be in a big transition time the rest of this decade. The middle of this decade here in the 20s. It's funny we don't really talk about decades like we used to, like the 70s and 80s. We're gonna start doing that now because it is the 20s.
Yeah.
It's not really the teens because it's not all teens. And the odds was like no one said odds.
That's good.
You gotta start saying
Yeah.
20s and 30s, because like we're talking about 80s music, we know what we're talking about. Or 70s, 90s. Okay, sorry.
But I think there's so much parity, not only in my game of hockey, but now we're seeing it in football. Like, who's the best team? I mean, Kansas City just lost game number one. Are they?
Yeah.
Everybody's saying Kansas City dynasty, right?
Yep.
Who's the best team in the NHL? Is it Florida? They won back to back. Are they the team of the 20s? I don't know. There just seems to be so much parity now in all our sports. That is there going to be a team? Is Florida the team? Can they win 3 in a row?
Yeah,
Can they
it's
win
been
4 in a row?
Yeah, been to 3 in a row.
Been to 3 in a row.
Sure, yeah. And it is. I think if I think of part of that too, Borky, is there's now more quality. Every organization is pretty well run, right? They all have a lot of money. They're all flush with cash. And back in the set again, going back to the 20th century, the 70s, Red Auerbach could take advantage of the trade to build the Boston Celtics. There were bad GMs who made terrible hockey
Sure,
trades.
sure.
They don't make really bad trades anymore. Very rarely, right? These guys are all educated. They grew up with sports. Every part of the organization is well run. There's all kinds of
Analytics.
men and women. There's analytics, which is kind of even the playing field. So it's hard. I think that's why you said it's going to be hard. And how the Steelers drafted in the 70s, that advantage that they had going to black colleges in the South and getting these players fourth and fifth, L.C. Greenwood, Dwight, like Donnie Shell, Joe Green,
Mel Blunt wasn't.
Mal Blunt.
Yeah.
It's like, they were so far ahead of everybody else. That doesn't happen anymore either, right? There's very few people that come out of nowhere. They know them when they're 12.
Yeah,
They are now.
true.
We knew Sidney Crosby was going to be Sidney Crosby when he was 12. So I think that's the reason why we have a lot of parity. The Steelers, I'm curious. Yeah, it was the Jets they beat, so you really can't be a true judge of Aaron Rodgers because it was the Jets.
And that's what we have to keep in mind.
Right.
So speaking of the Jets, Howard Carnell, the Jets. Howard, what I want to know from you is this performance that we saw out of Aaron Rodgers this past Sunday. Can we expect something close to? I know 4 touchdowns, that's a lot, but can we expect something close to that? Does he still have his time?
Those are sort of two different questions. When you are, what fastball are you allude to, right? Is it the fastball in Green Bay? No, he probably doesn't. But we talked about it previously to today. If you can get that Aaron Rodgers or a close facsimile consistently through the season, you're way better than anybody ever expected the Steelers to be this year. I felt, look, the first year in New York didn't count. He played 4 plays.
Right.
What I saw last year was inconsistency
He looked washed.
creeping
He looked
creeping
washed.
into his game at in different times. He'd look like the old Aaron Rodgers, and then he'd have 2 games where he looked washed,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so I told Mike previously, if Aaron Rodgers can get to the point where he's comfortable with who Aaron Rodgers is now and compete at that consistent level, look out for the Steelers. His numbers were great, 240 some yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. If he can get back, he's not going to be 300, 400 yards a game, that Green Bay Packer Aaron Rodgers. But if he can consistently get near what he did to the Jets or some similarity to that and cut down interceptions, get back to 25-2 ratio,
Yeah.
that makes them
Pretty
really,
good.
and he was like that.
Yeah.
He and 7-8 interceptions in
Right.
a year. But I looked at it as watching a lot of the games with my son as Jets fans. He was just incredibly inconsistent and was that age creeping in. Maybe part of it was he thought he could do what he used to do and he was pushing it. I didn't see any of that Sunday against the Steelers.
Well, there's that. Not only does he still have it, but will he survive a non-contact injury like he had a couple years ago? At age 41, that's a
Right, as
possibility.
the hits accumulate.
Second thing
Right.
is that offensive line. Robert Jones was still trying to bring him along. He was a free sacks. He was
Took a
on his
big
back.
hit, too.
Yeah,
Took a big
there were
hit.
some hard hits, and can he survive that?
Yeah.
And it's all going to boil down to that. The game of football always has been, always will be, won and lost at the line of scrimmage. And defensively, they didn't look that great either. Gave up about 170 yards rushing. I'm just wondering, like, that situation with Cam anyway. What happens to Cam saying, I might not play this first game. What happens to the contract? Going right up to being the leader of the team and the vocal guy who's saying this, you going to be a Steeler or not. How would you guys have felt back in the 90s if like Kevin Stevens?
I'll be brief because I want to hear Butchie and I want to hear Howard on this too, because it's not apples to apples. So I'm probably not the best guy to ask because hockey contracts are 100% guaranteed, right? Football contracts are completely different, that you're able to negotiate. And when I first heard that, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all because Cam Hayward really puts himself out there a lot with the media and puts himself out there. You want to be a Steeler? You want to be a
Yeah,
Steeler.
right,
You know what I mean?
right, yeah.
You come out and say that, and then you're singing a different tune when it comes to you. But I will say this, when I heard later on that he went into management when he negotiated this last deal and said, I'm going to be a Pro Bowler, and when I am, I'm going to be back in here. And they kind of went, oh, okay, Cam,
Right.
you know, like, and at 35, he went out and busted his ass and became a Pro Bowler, and he went back in again. So that's what I mean. Like, I'm probably not the best guy because that's the way NFL contracts work. That everything's negotiable. And hockey, once you go pen to paper, boom, it is locked in. There's no negotiations after that contract gets filed to the league.
Yeah, there used to be back in the day, you could renegotiate, but not anymore. So your 8-year deal, you're done. And but yeah, that wasn't a great look. I don't think it was a great setup to the season. Maybe they could have handled it better. In the end, they got some incentives, a couple million more bucks. But it put a bad taste in my mouth to start the season. But again, that stuff becomes the past so quick. You're 1-0, and now you build up that. I think they should have a good run defense. They have some good young interior linemen. Obviously, Hayward as well still has the game. Watt obviously still in his prime, so I think they can fix that and be better going forward. That's what's going to be great defense, and then the play action with Rodgers, ball control, throw it around, different receivers. Metcalf's a great target. So, and then just that's Mike Tomlin football, though, right? 24-17. He wants his offense to call the game with the defense in mind. To try to keep it. So it's we'll see if it works because the NFL is different now with these guys slinging the ball around, dropping 35, 40 points, like that Ravens-Bills game. Can the Steelers really win a game like that against a team like that? I don't know.
And that's the question about Rodgers'
Right.
consistency.
Yeah.
He might be able to win you one like that,
Mhm.
but if you rely on him to win the next 6 out of 8 games in
That
a
way.
shootout style,
Right. Yeah.
I don't think you can do it.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. I'd like to see him do
It's
a
just
little
not
well.
the
but-
culture of the Steelers.
Yeah, right.
It's not, but it is nice that we still have these expectations that they're going to find a way to compete.
No doubt.
Find a way to at least be in the conversation in January.
As opposed to what the Pirates and maybe the Penguins are doing.
To the Pirates.
Yes.
And that brings us to our next point. Well, gee, do we have any hope for the Pirates as we go forward?
Well, certainly they have the young pitching, right? But now they have to go out and they have to be aggressive this winter. Offer Pete Alonso more money than anybody else. Like, that's the guy they have to sign. Like, they have to get him in the middle lineup, get 35 homers, driving 100. Last time they made the playoffs, 13, 14, 15. They drew 2.5 million people. They're going to draw about 1.4 this year. You get, and again, if he would just that, and if you get that's $50 million. Let's say $50 a head if you want to watch it. You draw you sign Pete Alonso, you spend $50 million more dollars, you'll pay for it at the gate. It'll be paid for because people will come and they'll watch. And I think the Pirates, still with what they've been through, they still have a pretty good fan base. But they have to go out this year, and Alonso, I think, is the number one guy. I think his personality would fit Pittsburgh. I think his power would fit Pittsburgh, but they really need 2 bats.
The Pittsburgh Polo Bear. It's got a really good ring to it.
Well, we were talking, Butch, you were
Polar
talking
Bear
before
plunge
this
in the Monongahela.
about Kyle Connor staying in Winnipeg. Like, who wants to stay in Winnipeg? He kind of served his time. And do you think players in the MLB are thinking, do I really want to go to Pittsburgh? Like, we love Pittsburgh, but is it a destination?
Yeah, well, you have
When
to
this-
sell it.
You have to sell it.
And I
And
think he would come here. I think he's the kind of guy who would.
okay, I hope so.
Very popular.
But the
right
one
away.
thing nobody's brought up is, doesn't this all surround Paul Skeens? Like, what?
Yeah.
How long is Paul Skeens going to be here? Is Paul Skeens going to resign here?
Well, they have obviously baseball for a long time, but yes, they have to build around him. So once in a
Once in a
he
lifetime.
he might be the best pitcher they've ever had.
Ever had? Yeah.
For legit in
Yeah.
125 years.
You can't lose that guy,
125
but how do
years
you
of
keep
Pirate
him?
baseball. He's been playing since 1880. He's the best pitcher they've ever had.
But
That's how
right-
good he is.
right- There's no doubt about it. But right behind him are some absolute studs.
Absolutely,
You got
yeah.
Ashcraft,
Yeah.
You got Hunter Barco coming in from AAA, who's going to be their lefty complement. I tell you, from a coach's standpoint, you don't want to see that. And this is going to sound crazy.
Right.
Major league hitters will adjust if they see 3 guys in a row from 99 with fastball,
Similar
slider,
arm slot,
changeup.
yeah,
They're-
look at it.
yeah, same
Yeah.
arm slot. They're going to adjust.
Yeah,
And if you throw it a lefty, you throw it with
Yeah.
that. Look at it.
yeah.
But they're going to have to decide to me who are those pieces that they just rid of Mitch Keller, make a trade for him.
You're gonna have to identify who you want.
Yeah.
Because you got to make those aggressive.
That's going to be a tough thing. Howard, you were looking at some of the free agents.
I did. I
that
took
were
a
out
look
there
at the
beside you.
free agent lists coming up for the next 3 years, and the list didn't overwhelm me.
Yeah.
right? So they have to be, if they're going to go out into the free agent market, very targeted and specific.
Exactly.
The number one person I highlighted, you hit, Alonso. If he opts out, they've got to go after him. He answers two questions: a power hitting right-handed batter, first base.
Right.
The other guy that's out there that I love, I know you're going to have to put him in a difficult left field, and he's not the greatest fielder. But how many home runs would Kyle Schwarber hit into the river over that right field wall? I would just say here, fill it in, take whatever. He answers. You're left-handed, whether it's 3 or 4 in the order or 5, whatever. That helps you bring O'Neal Cruz along as a better hitter for average. And that answers some of your things. Then I think you're either going to have to, I like Mitch Keller, but yeah, I think you're probably going to have to trade him. Go out and get that top outfield prospect in Chicago, or go get a third baseman. Because I don't think there's a succession plan after getting rid of Hayes at third. But the two free agents out there, I agree with you. Alonso at first base, if he opts out, and Schwarber, you put him in left field, you deal with his fielding, and let him just bomb the boats in the
That'd
river.
be great. I mean, he's going to cost $40 million. They're not going to do that.
I know. Listen, I know.
Oh, you're right.
I got to be honest with you. I don't think they're going to do either thing. Right?
Yeah, you're probably. I mean, Alonso's obviously going to because he's going to get more. years.
Right.
And I just think it'd be a great sell if they're smart, and I think we might.
One
be
thing
great.
that we don't know is how many times Pirates kick the tires with players' agents, and they just say no. We don't
Right.
know that. So everyone criticizes Nutty, but if you remember 13, 14, and 15, when they had a chance to win, they went out and got Justin Morneau, J.A. Happ, A.J. Burnett, Marlon Burke, some of those other guys that filled in the pieces, helped get them over the hump to win and to make the playoffs. But is that too late? You know what I mean? Is it too late? Do you have to sign somebody before the season, or are they counting on not only what that does, but the shot of adrenaline that gives to your team?
You need a culture changing something.
Yeah,
The Bruins did it with Zdeno Chara back in the day. It changed their organization for 15 years. You got them a cup. They should have won another one, maybe 2. But that's what they need.
What does that do to the dynamic of the team? Because Borky, those Penguin teams, everybody knew how talented you guys were. Then in '91, here we go, we make a big deal, and Ron Francis comes with Grant Jennings and
Sure.
Wolfe.
Yeah.
And then the next year, you still need more, and Rick Tocchet comes and Shel Samuelson. But one of your good buddies on the Penguins was Delta. How does that affect you guys?
It's huge. It's huge. But you have to have a belief inside that locker room that you're close, right? And that have a player put you over the top. First we get Paul Coffey from it.
Yeah.
That was huge. We also get Brian Trottier, who has had a contract squabble with the New York Islanders. We get him. Those were 2 cornerstone guys inside our locker room that had won before and taught us, a bunch of guys, including Mario, how to win. And then you're right. You make the Ronnie Francis deal in '91. That was huge. Johnny Cullen goes to Hartford. Beloved guy. But to be quite frank with you, and kind of take the filter off here, we had a general manager with huge balls.
Yeah.
Patrick,
Yeah.
huge coconuts.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because in '92, on February 19th, 1992, I remember the day clearly, he traded 2 future Hall of Famers in Paul Coffey to the LA Kings. He gets back a first-round pick, and he packages that with Mark Recchi, sends Rex and the first rounder to Philly for Rick Tocchet. Why? Because we needed a Rick Tocchet. And there weren't a ton of Rick Tockets.
No,
Like,
no.
there's not a ton of Tom Wilsons out there right now.
Right.
There's still, back in that day, guys that could play with Mario, score 40, and fight the way that Rick Tocchet, have that toughness. That's what we needed. We had a GM that identified our need and was willing to risk it all. 2 beloved guys in the locker room, 2 future Hall of Famers, made that deal because he knew that's what we needed to
And that's
win
what the
back to back.
Pirates have to do. They look beyond analytics and draft personality and these
When
guys.
teams get desperate in the middle of the season.
That's the big
or-
thing right there.
No,
Character and
anytime.
personality.
Anytime. They got to make a trade. You can't sign everybody. You keep getting all these young prospects. You can't keep them. You identify your core and then you trade the rest. Make a smart, big time trade. And then you sign someone like, you mentioned Alonso, someone like a significant bat. Don't go halfway. You know,
Right. More
keep
no
going
kind of thing.
halfway, kind of these things. You know, and with Skeens, he should be your lightning rod. He's the North Star that other athletes should want to come play with and for. You got to take advantage of him as your big baby. Yeah, when things are different, things are changing, and you need a GM too with some charisma. Too, it's a
Yeah.
person that can sell Pittsburgh to these players.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I don't think they have
great.
that.
Well said.
Here's
That's a
the
great
crazy
point.
thing about the Pirates in that division. They're not that far off. In all honesty, if the Pirates get into the playoffs, number one, say they're a wild card team. You're going in with the advantage knowing you're throwing Paul Skeens. You get into a best of 7. If you can go 1-4-7, you're counting on chalking up 3 wins out of the 7 games right there.
That's why you have
You're
to be
not
aggressive.
right.
While he's
So
in his prime.
If you can put a couple of puzzle pieces there that'll get you a run more a game. Last night, again, he left the game with a 1-0 lead, did not get the win. It was a no decision. If you can get him some run support, this is your alpha male, clear-cut number 1 starter. It's just get him into the playoffs. And the Pirates are a dangerous team.
The
but
owner
not
has to
now.
spend
No,
$50 million,
no
50 to
question.
$75 million.
Yeah, no
Will he
doubt.
make that commitment?
And the GM to identify it, it's got big coconut balls, right?
Yeah.
So I see Pete Basil's wheels turning up there. I think he wants to add hot coconut balls.
Yeah, there you
As an
go.
appetizer. Yeah, maybe we could we name him after one of the GMs?
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
But,
And you know what? I don't know
Coconut balls.
I don't know the collective bargaining agreement, but I'd be half tempted to say, I'll give you 10 years, $1 billion. And you know what? He'll still be underpaid. I'm not kidding. In the life of that contract, I guarantee you he'd be underpaid after 10 years if you're allowed to renegotiate now. Because what they did with Garrett Cole was insulted him with the raise that they gave him, which was on the, rookie contract minimum kind of thing. You go there and make a statement. This guy's the best, which he looks like he really is. And if you do that, guys are going to come and say, hey, Schwarber's going to look at right field and say, I can play for 3 more years there and hit 150 home right? So that is you've got the center puzzle piece there. You've got to commit to him before you should, in my opinion, because he is, and he's built to last. I said, it's huge.
He's a horse.
Huge. You don't think he's going to break down? Yeah.
We hope. But, talking about underpaid, there's a guy who's been underpaid that we've been blessed with in Pittsburgh for 20 years. Just signs that deal and wants to stay loyal to this franchise. Fort, you've been around Sydney for 20 years. What makes him different from every other out there now maybe that we've ever seen?
At the risk of just firing off some cliches here, what makes him so different? Listen, when you get to the NHL, you have a commitment to your craft. And there's the way he lives his life, and this is going to sound really corny, and actually I use this when I do some public speaking because it's meaningful to me. As a 63-year-old male, I find myself day in and day out trying to do the right thing. And I really do. When I get to that kind of crossroads of what's right and what's wrong, I really do say, what would Sid do? And I know that sounds corny, you're going to laugh a little bit, but it's the truth. I find myself all the time because it always steers me in the right direction. So, again, at the risk of giving you a really long answer here to your short question, that his commitment, whether it's his diet, whether it's his sleep, whether it's what kind of cocktail he drinks, he makes sure he drinks the best vodka and just a tonic with a little bit of lime because he knows that's the cleanest thing to drink for, like that. Simple as that. How long he vacations, what kind of things he does in the off season, how he breaks down his game and sees one little weakness, and that is what he identifies in the off season and works his tail up. That's why he gets up when nobody's watching at 4 or 5 in the morning, out there shooting pucks or whatever he's doing. He's like a machine, and his commitment to that is a commitment to the Pittsburgh Penguins, a commitment to the city of Pittsburgh, and that's what makes him different. Because a lot of guys go to this level and they're safe. And I know there's other guys that work hard and train like madmen, but I don't think anybody does it with such great detail and consistency like Sid. Never, ever.
Yeah, he's a unicorn. There's nothing like him. You can see when he came into the game. I remember when I wrote at ESPN.com, weekly hockey column, like 2001 to about 2017. Like I could see right away this guy was like an angel sent to the NHL. They canceled the season. 04, 05, there's no hockey. Canceled. And then in comes this guy, Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin. Yeah, there's a lot of lessons.
I know.
And here they are, the two players of their, Ovechkin, the all-time leading scorer, goal scorer. I want Sid to play till he gets 2,000 points. And he should be there too, because that puts in, stats are stats, and he's got 3 cups and gold medals. But for him to be right next to Gretzky, I think it'll help the perception of him.
Is he on that Mount Rushmore?
It's close, man. It's
They're
tough.
throwing Mr.
Mario,
Hoffman out.
I know. It's a Gordy, Mario, Wayne,
Wow.
Bobby.
Bobby
Bobby
Orr.
Orr. I know Bobby Orr's not doing
Yeah.
it with
We should just add more heads.
Why does it have to be 5,
There's
right?
More rocks
Yeah.
up there. Yeah, what else is there, Make it an 8-headed Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
At least 6. One for each player on the team. Maybe 6 for a hockey team. So,
No, it's Sid's still driven. I mean, not to steal your question here, but having 4 Nations last year was a big thing for Sid because it got those competitive juices going for him, and he knew what he was signing up for. And this year starts the 2-year extension. He just turned 38 a little over a
Olympics
month
this
ago,
December.
right? Olympics coming up, then you got World Cup coming in 28.
Yeah.
So for Sid, he needs to kind of get those spidey senses tingling, and if it's not playoff hockey, and it is, and I get what Pat Brisson said the other day, and I'm sure most of us read it, that we all want to see Sidney Crosby in the playoffs. We hope it's with the Pittsburgh Penguins, but if it's not, it's a conversation. That's kind of where it is right now, and maybe that box is the top of the box has been lifted off a little bit, where maybe we're just having this conversation now. But again, not to get too long-winded into this, but I don't think Sid wants to leave. But if the team was really bad, like really bad, I know things weren't great last year, but if they got worse, does Sid want to be here for that? Do you want Sid? Butchie, do you want Sid to be here for that? Do you want to see him go through that for the next 2 years?
They won't be really bad.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
I
But
agree.
again,
the
the conversation has started.
Yeah.
I think there's enough youth that's hungry enough to scratch this lineup. I think that Kyle Dubas has done a lot, even though he's not getting credit for a lot. I think he's been kind of holding the reins back a little bit to see if this thing would organically take care of itself.
Right.
But I think he realizes as long as Sid's here, I have to keep, Rusty and Raquel and keep
Yes.
some good players to play with Sid while we try to get these young guys to hit the ground running. We got to solve our goaltending problem, with Tristan Jarry. Which Tristan's going to show up this year? I think bringing in Artis Shilovs, right, who
Yep,
won
I
the
agree.
American Hockey League championship last year with Abbotsford, was the MVP. Bringing him in, I think it's the first time that Tristan's going to be scared. And fear is a very healthy emotion because it pushes you to do things maybe you didn't think you were going to do between the years. So I think he's going to be looking over his shoulder at a young wild card goaltender that wants to be a number 1 in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, they're not going to make the playoffs. So, like you said, it's a long 9 months. There's only one place. I tweeted this back in early September that the only place I could see would be Montreal. A good team. It's nearest home. And can you imagine Knight at the Bell Center for warm-ups? He has that Canadian jersey.
Stop it.
It would be, again, I kind of want that moment. Just because it's like
No.
when Mario came back, against Toronto. I don't think, I think it's only Montreal. Because they're coming. Like Montreal's coming.
You know what? You're trading hockey cards over here because, listen, like, what is Colorado going to give up to get Sid?
Yeah.
Right? Can they even fit Sid's contract under the cap?
Yeah.
They're throwing millions of dollars around too. Like, again, it's I get this conversation. It's all within sports, but really, when you really start getting right down to the facts about it, I don't know. Like in
How
Montreal,
you describe him?
No.
I don't think he's going to do it.
no,
I
right?
think
And
he's
like
staying.
and like
The whole
okay, like Montreal, like I
He's
get
different.
as a hockey fan,
Yeah,
Butchie,
I
I
just
get
want
it.
that moment.
I
Yeah.
know, but it's
A TV
why would
show.
Montreal want him? Are they close?
They're close.
Oh, they're close.
Come on.
I think they're close.
They're close to what? Making the playoffs?
Yes.
Okay, you can make.
And then maybe being a cup contender
Oh, Butchie.
with him.
No,
Anybody
I'll
likes them
respectfully-
with him.
I'll respectfully disagree. That I don't see that team being a cup. If you put Sidney Crosby on the Montreal Canadiens this year or even next year,
They're a playoff team.
they're playing.
Yeah.
They are. I'll give you that.
No,
And that's why, like, what? And if you're the Penguins and you're Kyle, you holy Moses, you better get a pretty special player back.
absolutely.
And is Montreal ready to mortgage the future for the present? Are they right in that wheelhouse right now? I don't know if
They'd have to get rid of the kids that got them to this point, right? The
Right.
Penguins are going to have Hudson.
and that's
They're
like
going to have a Suzuki
Is it,
or somebody
um,
else.
I forget the young kid that came up at the end of the year. Is it Davidoff or
Maybe not. Yeah.
Davidoff? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a player that you're talking about. But that's a future franchise cornerstone for them.
Yeah. No, they wouldn't trade him for in the city.
Right.
Yeah.
And they should.
But that's if you're Kyle Dubas, that's what you want that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what you
They can
demand.
identify a guy and a couple number one and two. So I think that would be. I think it'd be a good prospect, very good prospect, and a one and a two. I think
Yeah,
that would
for
be
sure.
good.
Bare minimum. Yeah.
So, Borky, you mentioned young players. Butcher, you covered the NHL draft.
Yeah.
3 first-round selections for the Penguins.
Yeah.
What can we see from them? Are they going to be up soon? Or
I mean, they drafted 14 players.
Yeah.
I mean, they have 3 number ones. They're all kind of projects. Couple big athletes. Kimber, we'll see. You never know, guys. There's going to be opportunity.
Yeah. 11th overall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
11th, but you never know. The other 2 guys are projects, bigger guys. And, 22nd overall, 24th overall, those aren't usually. But we talked about it with Borky. You got to hit on that second rounder or that third rounder. Braden Point's a third rounder. Brandon Marchand is a third rounder. Jake Gensel, Patrice Bergeron was a second rounder. So it's not always about that first round pick. I believe draft a Hall of Famer in rounds 2, 3, 4. They're out there, but it's rare. So you got to get lucky with that.
No, I think if you're sitting around the breakfast table, just some names to kind of banter around that might have a chance this year would be, Sergei Murashov is a goaltender that's knocking on the door. He lit up the East Coast League here in Wheeling, right? I think he won his first 14 straight. Went to the American League. I think he won his first 11 straight. He's a lefty. He catches with the right hand. So he's a goalie that's, a lot of Penguin fans know about, right? Harrison Brunick is another guy, and I was at the rink yesterday because the youngsters are in town. They're going up to Buffalo. Yeah. And they got that second round pick from Carolina and the Jake Gensel deal. He's a righty. He's a right hand shot. But, Owen Pickering is a guy who played 25 games last year. A big 6'5" defenseman that is close. But just in my humble estimation, Harrison Brunick has more of the chops, NHL chops. I think he's the closest of all the young guys. He's the closest. We saw Billy Koivunen last year, right? That he's a good young player that's knocking on the door. But Kyle went out and got other guys that are, Justin Brozeau and players like that have got NHL experience that I think are more ready to play. But this is the first time you can say the cupboard is full. When you look at down in Wilkes-Barre, 3-4 years ago, I'll be honest to you, that I don't think there was one player that was ready to play in the NHL. There's guys you'd call up as emergency injury, but none of them were NHL players. They're all minor league players. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I'm just being quite honest with you. Now I think there's a bunch of players that are knocking on that door that, if not this year, at least the next year or the year after, they'll be NHL ready.
We in the Valley benefit from it too, from
Yeah.
that restock, because they have so many young guys
Trickle
in
down,
Wilkes,
yeah.
and they just drafted 13, 14 more players. They're going to shuffle down
Oh, yeah.
to Wheeling,
Yeah.
and Wheeling in the ECHL. I think
Amen.
we're going to get to see those. I got to see Mirashov a lot.
Yeah.
Love him.
Love them.
I want to see him do 45 games in the AHL
Same.
this year to
Same.
see. He sort of ran out of gas at the end of the year in the ECHL playoffs.
Yeah.
Was that exhaustion? Was that mental,
Could've been.
spiritual exhaustion from not playing that many professional games? But he's so quick. He's so athletic. I love that he catches right hand. Wheeling, both their goalies last year were right-handed.
As you know, if you're going to be 6 foot 6'1" that he is,
Right,
then
he's
you
not
better be
huge.
really quick.
Right,
And
right.
he is.
He's not huge.
Yeah.
And if he got out of position, he was athletic enough and agile enough to get back and make some really incredible saves. I think, though, that to project him into Pittsburgh, would be too premature other than the last 5-10 games of a season
No,
where you're
agreed.
not going to make the playoffs.
Agreed.
I'd give him more time to
No, but
cook it
if-
AHL.
if Tristan Jarry stumbles again, I think
Yeah.
he's next on the depth chart because I think Joel Bloomquist kind of took a step
Right, I
back
agree.
last year, and he might
Yeah.
need some more seasoning.
And I agree with you. I like the Shelos move.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of those AHL championship
He's a
games,
wild
and he
card.
looked
He's a
really
wild
good.
card for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he looked good, but it benefits everybody. And people here that want to run down to Wheeling to see a game.
Yeah.
You're going to see some guys
Really
that they're
good
really
guys.
high on.
Yeah.
Finn Harding.
Oh yeah,
Is
really good.
I
really
love
good
that
player.
far. I talked to him at the end of the season last year at the arena, and he's really excited.
They're high on him.
Yeah, really like him. So
Just to wrap it up, Mike, for the Penguins, Dubas, I think deep down, his GM brain would like Sidney walk in and say, then he would move Rustin. The next two drafts are loaded.
That would make it real easy.
They
You're
are
right.
loaded.
Yeah.
And obviously, Gavin McKenna will be the first pick, the gigantic defenseman as well next draft. They would love to get one. So I think that's what you want. And quite frankly, for the long-term health of the organization, that's probably what should happen. That's the great thing about this story, the delicious story.
Yeah.
Because it's Sid, and he's different. I just don't think he'll do it.
Yeah.
These kids come in
But he might.
to teach them
Of course,
how to play with their game. As soon as you get rid of Sid, you're looking for a guy with all the traits
Well, that
that
was
Sid
like
has.
Bilberry's
right?
time with Basil's boy Ray Bork.
Yeah.
We said, "Were you going to trade Ray Bork?" He was denying it. He eventually did. Because why would I trade a guy that I want every player to be like and to model themselves after? Why would I do that? Well, then he did. But because Bork wanted to get a chance to stay. He got it. But, so yeah, but it's going to be a fascinating. It's a fluid situation. Let's see how the season starts. 2-8, 3-7-2.
Yeah.
It's gonna pick up. It's hockey's an emotional sport, and if Sid wants that emotion again, he might have to. I know he doesn't.
Because they get out of the block slow, do they move those wingers early, or do they wait till the trade deadline?
Oh yeah, he'll go anytime.
Anytime.
But again, that's he's gonna have to consult Sid on that too. It's tough.
Tough.
It's tough. I
Because
think it's almost
him and Jake were as good a duo as
Yeah.
we've seen here in a long time, and you move Jake.
yeah.
And that hurts him. It hurt him. And then he finds the chemistry with Brian Rust. Rusty gets you 31 last year, and Raquel 35, right?
Yep.
And so, if you move those two, like I said earlier, I just think I don't think you have to genuflect to Sid, but I think also he deserves that respect
Absolutely.
to still have guys that can put the puck in the net for him.
Meanwhile, they're gonna be sold. Like we don't know who the owners are. Right? It's like there's a lot going on there right
Maybe we'll save that talk for the next.
Maybe.
Yeah.
episode.
Well, by then, I bet they have a new owner next
Think
time.
about what you can say and you
Do you
can't say.
think that?
Yeah, I'll start thinking about that now.
I think it's going to happen soon. I think it's going to happen before the new term.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, as they say.
I mean, right now the bid's not high enough, so it looks like the Hopper
Yeah.
favorite right now to write that big check. They want one. It's just, franchise values are what they are because it's a scarcity, right? There's not many of them. So if you want them, you got to pay a premium.
Would Mary be involved in
I don't think so.
Not Hoffman. He wasn't included in the original.
So things could change, and maybe they find a position.
vice president?
I mean,
No, I don't think Mario wants that.
I don't think
No, I think
he doesn't
he's
get
a grandfather. He's enjoying his life. I don't think he wants that responsibility of day to day.
Yeah.
I think he'd like to be an owner again. I think he'd like to be up in that owner's box and be coming to games and
Drinking
have
the
that-
red.
and drinking the red. Have Pierre
Have the
open
hot
up a
coconut balls.
Chateaubriand, some of that, right? Right.
Some Basil's wings up there. Drink them up.
Well, don't forget about the coconut balls.
Hot giants. Hot giants.
I'm here at Basil. We found a lot of great things here at Basil today. We really appreciate everybody being on board here. One thing I did want to mention, the great community work that the Basil family does. They offer scholarships every year to local student athletes. They do outstanding work in the community. Starting to spread their wings. What a nice place to
It's a
have
great place. This really is a beautiful
Our
place.
first podcast here. Butchie, always great to be
Great to
with
be
you.
here.
Fun.
Just again, a beautiful day in the Ohio Valley. I love September. It's my favorite month of the year because baseball, pennant races, the NFL is back, college football now the second biggest sport in our country now. It's amazing the growth of college football. It's always been big, but the last 10, 20 years, it's now the number 2 sport in our country. Obviously, hockey is near and dear to my heart. I get so excited thinking about opening night. I'll be in LA doing the Avalanche Kings, and hope I get some Penguin games or Blue Jacket games when I get back in the area, Ohio, Pennsylvania. But, yeah, this is the best month for me. My favorite month. Ryder Cup this year. So I'll be pumped about that as well.
So let's go back to Holy Rosary Arena and have a little screen.
Oh, there you go. That's where it all started. I used to write a newspaper out. Wrote
That's where
the
it
newspaper.
started.
Yep, we broadcast games in the tape
And
recorder.
you officiated them at the same time.
Quite a
Multi-talent.
quite a skill. It's
No one was
always great to-
surprised that he was going to wind up on ESPN. None of us were surprised at all. Happy to see
Thanks
your
for having me,
success.
Michael.
Absolutely, buddy. Always great to see you. Forky, final thoughts, buddy.
Same. I got the same kind of warm and fuzzies this time of year. I love it. Hockey's around the corner. Camp is going to start in a week from now.
63? You look
63,
40.
I know.
63,
Yeah,
man.
I just
Unbelievable.
want to put a Titleist ring on top of that. And just,
Yeah, just
Get
don't
like a
cut
nice
me
8
open and
iron.
count the rings like a
Oh.
tree. You know, you'd be shocked.
you look great,
Um,
Forky.
But thank you. Yeah, no, this time of year with the cold mornings, it takes me back to
Yeah.
being a player, going to training camp when it was dark in the morning and going to the rink, double sessions, all that stuff. I remember like it was yesterday. I love this time, especially in this area. The crisp mornings,
Yeah.
you know, golf in the afternoon. It kind of gets cold again at night. I absolutely love it when everything starts. Football, it's still winding down. Hockey's about to begin. It's a great time to be a sports fan, and I can't wait. I'm going to do more games on TV, by the way. On the Penguin side, I got a few more games. It's just Mike Rupp's going to step aside, myself and Colby Armstrong. So that's kind of news that came out recently. Pierre McGuire
Yeah, I saw that.
is now part of the radio broadcast, so that's breaking news.
Got a great group.
We got a lot going on as far as the broadcast side. We're going to get new. We're going to bring in some new different people on the broadcast side, both TV and radio. So it's exciting times in Penguin Land.
Great.
HK, last thought.
Yeah, it's great to be an American and have the freedom to do this
Amen.
stuff and enjoy all the different sports, whether they're individual sports or team sports. On this day, remember that you're lucky enough to be an American and you're lucky enough to be a sports fan. Don't take it for granted because not everybody all over the world can do that. And my closing thought is, in lieu of what we're dealing with throughout the country, is, you know, spirited debate is healthy for everyone, but respect life and enjoy each other. And that's what we got to remember again today, because every day, 9/11 each year, we remember what we went through. So that's it.
Great point. Great point. I want to thank everybody for thousands. Thank everybody who came out. Great to see all of you next week. Stay tuned. Borky and I will be with Greg Brown of the Pittsburgh Pirates on the Bird Bus. That'll be our first venture on the bus.
Beautiful.
Buddy.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Well, so stay tuned. It'll be next Thursday. We thank everybody for tuning in to the Black and Gold Happy Hour Sports Talk. The tri-state area's home of sports talk and fun. Thanks for being with us.
Way to go, Michael. Good
Yeah.
job, Michael.
Smoothie.
Nice.